How many of you remember the radio series in the 50s called The Scarlet Pimpernel?
They seek him here, they seek him there. Those Frenchies seek him everywhere.
They seek him here, they seek him there. Or for that matter, the popular song in the, I think, mid-60s.
They seek him here, they seek him there.
That kind of summarizes my approach to language learning. In everything I do, I seek words and structures. I seek them in different contexts, and gradually they accumulate in my mind. My goal in language learning is to seek out words and structures and to increase my comprehension. That's the goal. We may have this vague goal of wanting to be fluent in a language, but that's not the daily goal that I have with me in my language learning routine. So let's have a look at my language learning routine. Right now, I'm on my 20th language. I started Farsi or Persian about 5 years ago at the same time as I started Turkish and Arabic. So in a way, my progress has been somewhat slower than usual because I've been sort of involved in 3 different languages. But now, if I pull something down from the internet at an advanced level on current events, I will find about 10% unknown words based on how we count them at link. The statistics show maybe 15% for each of these items, but there's usually, because the audio file is automatically transcribed, there's some corrupted transcription, so they're non-words, or you have proper names, people, cities, countries, and whatever, which are not really words. So about 10% unknown words. How did I get there? I got there because my goal all along was to increase my comprehension. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, making comprehension your daily goal by seeking words and structures and phrases and sounds and making things more familiar, seeking them in different kinds of content and different contexts, and subconsciously seeing your level of comprehension and your vocabulary grow. So my daily routine, as I've said before, I start with the easiest thing to do, and that's to listen. So as I'm preparing breakfast, I will listen to the latest episode from my podcast in Persian, and I'll miss a lot. But even as I'm missing a lot, I'm seeking here and there words and structures that are being confirmed, or I'm correcting some mistakes that I had. I'm noticing certain things as I'm listening and reading. And so I'm seeking here and seeking there, things that are gradually accumulating in my brain as I go forward. Usually, though, there are lots of words that I'm very curious about now because I couldn't understand them, or I'm not entirely sure what they mean, or I need to get the meaning in a different context, seeking here, seeking there. So I go with my iPad typically in the afternoon, sit down for an hour and a half, an hour, go through the same content in link, looking up words and phrases. But that's the toughest part. That is the toughest part of my language learning routine because you're sitting there, I'm not entirely sure how much is sticking. I'm looking up words. I know that I'm going to not remember them when I see them again. I try to make the activity as varied as possible, so I might go in full page mode, sentence mode. I might listen to the time-stamped audio for that sentence. I might try to recreate the sentence, translate the sentence. So there are a variety of different activities. Maybe looking at as I mentioned the other day, by going to the vocabulary area at the bottom of the page, I can open up vocabulary items that are not yet known to me and review them again. So I'm able to seek words and phrases in different ways here and there to try to give myself a better chance of gradually learning more and more and increasing my comprehension. But the goal is not to speak. The goal is to understand more. And typically, as I get more and more of the words and therefore understand more and more of a particular content item, when I next listen to it, I will understand more because I'll understand the context better, I'll be more familiar, I'll have more words. So then you might say, well, what about speaking? We all want to speak. And I say, of course we all want to speak. But you can't speak if you can't understand. So the goal ultimately is to speak and speak fluently. But going back to atomic habits, which I've talked about in the past, we need to have shorter term goals, actions that help us achieve the longer term goal, fluency. So my short term goal always is comprehension. If I'm working with a piece of content on link, I only want to understand what's there. I don't worry about what I forget. I just want to be able to work my way through that item of content and understand more and more of what's there. But your question is, what about speaking? And of course I want to speak. And in a way, the most pleasurable activity that I do, insofar as my Persian is concerned, and this is the third activity, is my 2 or 3 times a week conversation with my tutor. I'm not stressed. I can make mistakes. She corrects me, or she doesn't correct me, and I search for words. Typically, the range of vocabulary there is more limited because the tutor is very good at keeping the conversation within the range of what I can, deal with and be able to respond to. So by and large, it's a very positive experience. I don't have that feeling that I have when I'm reading, where I'm saying, geez, will I ever remember any of this stuff? Or when I'm listening in the morning and I keep on not understanding certain things. When I'm speaking with my tutor, it's kind of a high point. I always leave those conversations and the hour conversation goes very, very quickly, feeling very good about myself that I was able to communicate on a variety of subjects with my tutor. So the whole, dopamine, serotonin, whatever is kicking in. It's in a way the reward, but you have to get there. And you get there by working on comprehension. So comprehension is my ongoing daily goal in my language learning activities. And typically, if I've reviewed the lesson on my iPad, saved some words, increased my level of comprehension of the subject that is in this podcast episode, then when I listen the following morning, I will understand more. My level of engagement has increased. It's a bit like what happens in AI. I always think of two sort of functions in AI. One is this reiterative exposure to similar words, phrases, structures in different contexts that is gradually increasing our ability to anticipate what's coming. And that's the I. The inference increases our ability to infer, to predict what's going to come, which is such an important part of being able to operate in the language. So I just wanted to make this point that obviously our long-term goal is to become fluent and speak well and stuff, but you can't do that without a strong level of comprehension. And since most of my learning activity is input-based, I have to have some daily meaningful goals while I'm doing these input activities, and that goal is to increase my level of comprehension. And I'm confident that if I'm understanding what I'm dealing with by looking up words or by listening over and over, seeking here, seeking there, words that I suddenly noticed that I hadn't noticed before, all of that is contributing to my ability to understand better. And if I can understand better, I will eventually be able to speak better as I speak more. So I hope that was useful, and I'll leave you again with the Kinks from 1965.
They seek him here, they seek him there.